Hi, everybody. This is Heather Coleman, intuitive medium, aura clairvoyant, and emerging expert, I feel, in the five elements. And in the wake of a video I just ended up recording with a card reading, we had a lot of messages coming through about the water element. And some of those messages included insights about how the holiday season can be a time of emotions running very high, whether that's just due to the hustle and bustle and the busyness of preparing for the holidays and being around family. And a lot of those are very positive emotions. Some of those, that can also be very difficult emotions, and conflicts can happen, tensions can run high, emotions can run high. Again, both the joy and the anticipation, the excitement and the fun, and some of the difficult stuff as well. So really good time for us to talk about the water element. Now, we've already talked a little bit about this in other videos. We've done water element yoga meditations. I've got some videos on my channel here about the five elements, but what we're going to talk about in more detail today is the element of water itself and how to tell if you might be water element dominant, either permanently or just at this time, and what you might do with all of that, what you might do on a practical level. So the element of water, if you're already familiar or you're curious about tarot, the element of water or cups or chalices is represented in our minor arcana, which is typically 12 to 14 cards depending on the deck, and concerns our emotions and relationships. So people that tend to have a lot of water in their makeup do tend to be people who feel emotions very deeply. And sort of synchronistic with all this that my hair is blue, or some people say it's green, but bluish green, color of water, ocean. But often people who are born under a water sign, like Pisces, do tend to be very emotional. And the work of someone who is born under a water zodiac sign is often to learn to flow with your own emotions and balance them, recognize them, and process those emotions. And that can be very difficult for people who are not only born under a water sign as your sun sign, but if you have a moon or a rising or ascendant sign of water, or even more than one, that there can be a lot of that. You may also have a life that has a lot of ups and downs and literally tidal waves that happen, and that you've got to learn to ride or navigate or steer your ship, we might say. All of us are made up of five elements. We've got earth, water, of course, which we just talked about, wind or air, space or ether, and fire. So again, the element of water is a balancer for fire and air. And in yoga, we have mudras. And it just so happens that I have a wonderful deck, Mudras for Awakening the Five Elements. And I'm going to share with you two mudras that are excellent for helping you to balance your water element and your sacral chakra. And this is a wonderful idea, again, around the holidays, because things do tend to be busy, emotions do tend to run high. So our first mudra is sometimes called Creative Power, also called Shakti Mudra. Shakti Mudra. And this is one of my favorite ones to do because it doesn't include a lot of bending and pretzeling the fingers. Not that I mind that, but sometimes it's nicer when you don't have to do that. Sometimes it's just easier. So we're going to join the tips of the ring and pinky fingers, fold the thumbs, cover with the index and middle. So index and middle fingers are over the thumbs. We've got these two connected, and that's how you're going to make that mudra happen. I open and allow the divine potential within to emerge. I open and allow the divine potential within to emerge. One of the things that this mudra in particular is going to help you do is let your own emotions run, because when we squash down our emotions, we also don't realize we're doing it, but we tend to squash our connection to source, to the divine. And let's try to break those habits that happen as part of living the human experience. So again, we want to hold those fingers, and that affirmation is, I open and allow the divine potential within to emerge. This mudra in particular is great if you tend to swallow a lot of your feelings, swallow certain things and say, I shouldn't say that. This is a great way to balance that out for yourself and activate. So we might say that mudra helps to wake up your water element if it's flowing a little slow. Now, we're going to get one that will help us to calm down that water element if it's flowing too quickly. Let's see. Balance. Union is going to... This one's a little trickier, but that's okay. We're going to cross our wrists, hands back to back, left hand in front of the heart. I'll repeat that. We're going to hook the little fingers with the tips pointing upward. And each hand, we're going to touch the thumb to the middle and index. Da, 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 da. Fingers upward, blah, 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 blah. Left hand close to heart. Hooking those little fingers so it looks like this. It's not as bad as it sounds, not as hard as it sounds, although it's a little pretzel-y, right? But left hand in front. And oops, 2 fingers to thumb, middle finger up. Woohoo. I allow a greater bond and connection with all to emerge. I allow a greater bond and connection with all to emerge. I allow a greater bond and connection with all to emerge. Oh, oops, there, that's what it looks like. Again, this is great if your water element tends to be a little overactive. Finally, the third one I'm going to give you today is called flow or jala, which is the Sanskrit word for water element. Thumbs to pinkies, that is your water element finger. Both hands like this. No affirmation for this one, other than balance. Just balancing that water element, balancing those emotions. So little finger to thumb, other fingers out. Hand, wherever your hands are comfortable. I will sometimes do water element mudras like this in the lap, or for grounding, you can point these other 3 fingers down and grow your roots and still let that water flow. So what's what I like about this mudra, it has so much versatility to it. If you're feeling ungrounded, a good thing you can do with this mudra is go up and then down, up and down. So alternating at least 2 times, but as many as you like. You can do this for a couple minutes if you want. By the way, if you were to do this, let's say, for 2 whole minutes or a little longer, that would be considered Kundalini yoga. Kundalini yoga. So I hope that mudra work is helpful for all of you. Talking just a little bit more here about, again, that water element. Some of you might be wondering, and you may have other questions too, but this could be one that is definitely coming up. How to tell if you're dominant in a certain element? How can you tell if you are water element dominant, right? That's a great question. Well, one way that you can tell that you indeed may be water element dominant is, and forgive me in advance for talking about things that can be a little uncomfortable to think about, you may be water element dominant if you're prone to very loose stools, if you sweat very easily and profusely. In other words, if many of your body systems tend to just be very hydraulic, I don't know if that's the best word, moist, if you tend to just sweat easily, you get really wet easily, like, again, your stools. Maybe you drink water and it goes right through you and you have to pee a lot and you almost don't want to do it, but you should still flush that system out. So very heavy menstrual cycles for women could be a sign that you are very water element dominant or heavy. So versus someone, to give you a sort of an example here, someone who is, let's say, fire element dominant and or air, that person potentially could be very prone to constipation. So one of the reasons we may want to slow down that water element, if we can balance that, among other supports for ourselves, we can balance out that issue if we have loose stools, diarrhea, very heavy periods. We can get that to slow down and balance. Consequently, if this resonates for you, and I'm not suggesting that you do this energy work in place of other practices and things you do, but in addition to. focusing on increasing your fire and air element. Not that you can't do earth and space, but specifically fire and air. Calling more of that into your system can really help you at this time with these things that we are talking about. So if questions come up for you, please feel free to put those in the comments, and those things often become topics of future videos. I do hope that all of you out there are having a beautiful, wonderful holiday season if you're seeing this soon after it's coming out. Whenever you're seeing this, I hope that this really helps you out with exactly where you are right now in your journey. In the meantime, much peace to you and yours, much love, and namaste.